Hi there and welcome back to Wargaming World. I'm going to put together a game of Chain of Command, but I thought I'd start right from the beginning. How the table looks, how I put it together, and all of the various different component parts. And you'll see here, this is all the various different options that I've got to start off with, and I thought I'd put it together in a stage process, and that might be interesting. Let's hope so at the end. We'll see by the feedback. The first thing that's most important for me is the actual clouds at the back and the hills, which were painted by my daughter, and therefore it's the most important thing for me in terms of any table we put together. And also up here, I've got a light. And so that helps it during the game, and particularly during putting photographs etc. together, using that as a bit of a feature. So I'll think about what we're going to do for the game to start off with. Now, something to bear in mind is that it's a solo game, so I need to make sure that the game itself is interesting, obviously, and then as well there's quite a variety and a unexpected nature to it. Otherwise, I'd know all the things that were going on. But there are some practical things too. The fact that it's up against a wall means that I've got about a reach of 3.5 feet. So over the games that I've played, one of the things is to try and make sure is that where the table is at that end towards the wall is to leave that relatively empty. And so the idea then is that it's easy to access and play the games on it. If I'm going to have buildings etc., is to have it towards the nearer end of the table and see how that works. Now, I'm going to try and look at a game here which is fighting over a crossroads. So I'm going to do this in stages and see what we come up with. Right, that's a very easy start. Okay, so we've got the crossroads here, pavements on it as well. So if we need that, then I think we need buildings somewhat around this corner. So let's have a look and see what would go best. I've now added some buildings. I'm still not sure how good this is going to be, but I want to have lots of space. I've set that building quite far back, so there's plenty of space here in between those buildings, and again, rather than have these two houses right at the road, again there's a space here to use. So as it stands at the moment, I'll build around this and see where we go. Side of the board, I'm just building things up a little. I wanted to get in some fields etc., and I've added a church, and we'll see whether that fits. And I know that back corner isn't really going to be used in the game itself, so I put the windmill out there just as a different type of feature. So if we're now going from left to right, this is beginning to build up quite nicely. I think there's still quite a nice area of space here in terms of where to fight. I think in terms of the church itself, it doesn't give such a huge advantage. If you were in the church, it gives some cover, but not really firing out of the windows, etc. And then in the centre of the board is all of this space here. I've just put a field out there just for the moment because I think it allows you to play in quite a big area. However, quite obviously, it now means that this is fairly bare, and the question is, well, why is the crossroads so important? Why is this road important? So I need to add something in here, which is a nice feature, and you'll also notice there's a big gap where this cloth finishes. So it's just a practical thing about saying, well, what do I normally do to cover that and to look at the board, but it is taking shape. Well, the next stage then is to put in a river. So this is where the road goes to, and it's just a footbridge here. Now at this back end of the table, there's not really going to be much fighting here, so this footbridge moves to this beautiful hotel or chateau or whatever it is we want to have as that, but it's a really nice building and feature, etc. But remembering that the game itself is to be played here, and that's how it'll roll out. The reality is that anybody who's going to be spending any time or putting troops in here for a firing point, well, I guess they could. I don't even know how the game's going to roll out, but yeah, it might potentially just waste a squad waiting up there. So yeah, that's the next stage. I really don't like to leave any of the, or anywhere in the table particularly bare. That's why I showed right at the start what it looked like without the features. And as we go, you can see that it's fairly well covered. The last thing for me is to add in some tiny little detail, just to improve on the board, and then we can take some final photos. And there we have it. So, as the rain pours outside here, this is the final table for the game, which will be a Chain of Command France 1940 game, and it's going to be centered around the middle of the board to make it very easy, but just trying to make sure that all the way across there's lots of detail, lots of feature, makes it an interesting board, and that's taken around about an hour to put together. So you know, for me, a lot of the fun of the game is doing this, creating a new table with a lot of different features each time, and yeah, I hope you like the look of it. And by all means, if you've got any thoughts, any comments, then that'd be great. And the reason why I put this out today in particular is really as a thank you to all those people who subscribed to the Wargaming World channel. It's great when people leave comments too. So if you would like to subscribe or add any further detail, anything like that, or pass this on to others, then that would be absolutely terrific. I'll leave you with some photos for a bit of close-up and detail, and thanks very much.